Jack Harmon scrubbed the floor of the research facility, his knuckles white around the handle of the mop. 5 years ago, he'd been a respected xenolinguist. Now he cleaned up after the real scientists. The night shift was quiet, except for the hum of computers analyzing the alien glyphs found in the ruins of Proxima B. He glanced at the main screen as he worked. The same patterns had been there for weeks. The research team was stuck. "They're looking at it wrong," he muttered to himself. Jack set down his mop and moved closer to the display. The symbols pulsed with a faint blue light. He'd been watching them for months now, noticing things the others missed while they argued theories. He checked the corridor. Empty. Against all protocols, Jack sat at the terminal and accessed the database. His credentials had never been fully revoked, an oversight he'd never mentioned to anyone. The symbols flowed across the screen. Jack's fingers moved quickly, rearranging the patterns based on mathematical sequences he recognized from his previous work. His heart raced as new connections formed. "What are you doing?" Dr. Vega's sharp voice cut through the silence. Jack froze. The expedition leader stood in the doorway, her face tight with anger. "I can explain," Jack said, rising from the chair. "You're violating at least 5 security protocols. I should have you removed from this planet immediately." Jack pointed at the screen. "Look at the pattern." Everyone's been treating these symbols as a language with grammar, but they're not. They're mathematical expressions. We have experts for that, Mr. Harmon, not janitors who lost their credentials for falsifying research. "I never falsified anything," Jack said, his voice low. "I just proposed theories no one was ready to hear." Dr. Vega moved to shut down the terminal. "I'm reporting this. What if we're reading it backward?" Jack blurted out. Dr. Vega's hands stopped midair. "These symbols," Jack continued, pointing to the screen. "They're meant to be read in reverse sequence. The civilization that created them experienced time differently than we do." Dr. Vega stared at him, then at the screen. Reluctantly, she sat down and reversed the sequence. The symbols rearranged themselves. New patterns emerged. "That's impossible," she whispered. Jack leaned forward. "It's a coordinate system." And a warning. 3 other researchers rushed in, drawn by the commotion. They crowded around the terminal as Dr. Vega ran the new algorithm through the translation matrix. Words appeared on the screen. Chamber, core, danger, return. "Coordinates to a hidden chamber," one researcher said. 6 hours later, Jack stood with the team at the entrance to a sealed room deep beneath the ruins. The door slid open with a hiss of ancient machinery coming to life. Inside, a holographic display activated, showing star systems and a timeline. Dr. Vega's face went pale as she checked the data against their astronomical charts. "According to this," she said, "something called the Devourers will return when the stars align in this configuration." She looked up. "That's 3 weeks from now." Jack studied the final transmission date encoded in the warning. His blood ran cold. The last message from this civilization was sent exactly when humanity broadcast our first deep space signal, he said. They weren't warning their people. They were warning us. Military ships landed outside the research facility within 48 hours. Soldiers in black uniforms secured the site, pushing researchers aside and setting up equipment around the ruins. Jack watched from the window as Commander Frost stepped off the lead transport. The man's face was hard, his movements precise as he marched toward the facility. "They're taking over," Dr. Vega said, standing beside Jack. "Earth Defense Command is classifying everything we've found." Jack clenched his jaw. They won't understand it. Not in time. The door slid open. Commander Frost entered with 4 armed guards. "Dr. Vega," he nodded. His eyes landed on Jack. "You must be Harmon, the janitor who plays scientist. He made the breakthrough," Dr. Vega said. Frost ignored her. "My team will handle the translations now. All civilians are restricted to quarters until further notice." Jack stepped forward. "Commander, the language has mathematical properties that—" "We have experts for that," Frost cut him off. "Real experts." Jack was escorted to his small room. The lock engaged with a click. He paced for hours, his mind racing through the symbols he'd seen. The warning was clear, but incomplete. There was more to translate. A soft knock came at midnight. Jack opened the door to find Dr. Kira Nolan, one of the younger researchers. "I copied the data before they locked it down," she whispered, showing him a small drive. "I believe you. They worked through the night in secret." Jack's fingers flew across the tablet as new translations emerged. "The Devourers don't just kill," he said, his voice shaking. "They consume consciousness itself. These beings fought a war and lost." Kira pointed to a new symbol sequence. "What's this part?" Before Jack could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. They rushed to the command center. On the main screen, massive ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system. Black, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "They're broadcasting something," a communications officer said. The speakers crackled with strange sounds. The military translators looked confused, but Jack understood every word. "They're giving us an ultimatum," he said. "Surrender for harvesting or be destroyed." Commander Frost glared at him. "How can you understand that?" "Because it's the dead language. They're speaking it." Frost turned to his communications team. "Broadcast standard first contact protocols. Peaceful intentions." "No." Jack shouted. "That's not what they—" The screen flashed white. When the image cleared, Phobos, the moon of Mars, was gone. Only dust remained. "A demonstration," Jack translated as new sounds came through. "They'll be here in 3 days." Panic spread through the command center. Jack grabbed Kira's arm and pulled her aside. "There's something in the ruins," he whispered. "The translations mention defensive systems." "Frost won't listen to you," she said. "Then we don't tell him." That night, Jack led a small team, including Kira and 2 sympathetic security officers, into the deepest part of the ruins. They found a chamber untouched by the military. Jack placed his hand on a panel. Ancient machinery hummed to life around them. "These aren't weapons," he realized as displays activated. "They're communication devices." The ancients were calling for help. Jack pressed the final sequence. The chamber filled with light as the system powered up for the first time in millennia. A voice responded, unlike anything human ears had ever heard. "We have waited millennia for this call," it said in the dead language. "The Alliance still stands." Jack stood in the center of the emergency command room, surrounded by screens showing 7 different alien species. Each one looked nothing like the others. Some were insect-like with multiple limbs. Others resembled plants or floating clouds of light. All had faced the Devourers and survived. "They want to know our defensive capabilities," Jack said, translating for Commander Frost, who now had no choice but to listen. "Tell them we have nuclear weapons and energy shields," Frost replied. Jack shook his head. "That won't help. The Devourers don't care about our bodies. They want our minds." The largest screen showed a being made of crystalline structures that shifted and changed as it spoke. Jack listened carefully. "They say each species holds a piece of the knowledge needed to fight back." The ancients split the information to prevent the Devourers from getting it all at once. Dr. Kira worked at a terminal nearby, processing the incoming data. "Jack, your brain waves change when you translate. The patterns match the alien language structure. That's why the translation I can't handle it," Jack realized. "It's not just language. It's thought patterns." The alien communications continued for hours. Jack's head pounded with each translation, but he pushed through the pain. The Alliance had formed a plan. "We need to capture a scout ship," Jack explained to the War Council. "The Devourers send smaller vessels ahead to identify the most valuable consciousness sources. Commander Frost slammed his fist on the table. You want us to attack them? After what they did to Phobos? We don't attack, Jack said. We let them take us. 12 hours later, Jack found himself on a small stealth ship with Kira and a team of special forces. They drifted in space, waiting. How will they find us? One soldier asked. Jack tapped his temple. They'll sense me. My brain is changing to process their language. It makes me visible to them. The wait was short. A black, dark-shaped vessel appeared, hovering above them. A beam of dark energy pulled their ship inside. Remember, Jack whispered as they prepared to be boarded. They'll try to separate us. Stay together. The Devourer ship's interior was like being inside a living thing. Walls pulsed with energy. Floors shifted under their feet. The air felt thick with something that wasn't quite matter. They moved deeper into the ship, following Jack's instincts. No guard stopped them. No alarm sounded. It's too easy, Kira said. They reached a central chamber. Inside, transparent containers held what looked like glowing mist. Jack stepped closer and gasped. These are people, he said. Or what's left of them. Their consciousness, extracted and stored. A container nearby held something different, a swirling, angry red energy. That's from the ancient civilization, Jack said. They've kept it all this time, studying it. Suddenly, a door opened. Beings entered, not solid, but shifting masses of darkness with points of light where eyes might be. The team froze. The beings moved around them, examining each person. One approached Jack, reaching out with a tendril of darkness. Jack felt his mind being pulled, examined. Images flashed through his thoughts. Earth. Humans fighting, loving, creating, hoping despite impossible odds. The being recoiled as if burned. They fear something in us, Jack said, his voice strained. Something human. Alarms blared. The being scattered. The team ran for their ship, barely escaping as the scout vessel began to self-destruct. Back on Earth, Jack collapsed as soon as they landed. His eyes rolled back, blood trickling from his nose. Jack, Kira cried, catching him. His body convulsed as his mind filled with visions. The ancient civilization's final battle, their desperate plan, and a terrible truth. They're not a species, he whispered before losing consciousness. The Devourers are what happens when a civilization gives up its physical form, but keeps its hunger. Jack woke in the medical bay 3 days later. His vision blurred, then cleared. He could hear voices not just in the room, but everywhere. Languages he'd never studied now made perfect sense. He's awake, Kira said, rushing to his side. Jack, can you hear me? Too clearly, he winced. Something changed in my brain. Dr. Vega approached with a scanner. Your neural pathways have been rewired. The alien language has integrated with your thought patterns. Jack sat up slowly. How long do I have? The room went silent. The changes are accelerating, Dr. Vega finally said. Each translation speeds up the process. A few weeks at most. Jack nodded. He'd already guessed. Then we better work fast. In the command center, representatives from the 7 allied species had arrived. Their ships orbited Earth, a small fleet against the approaching Devourer armada. The plan is ready, said a being made of shifting blue crystals. We will create a consciousness trap using the ancient technology. Jack translated for the human leaders, each word causing a stab of pain behind his eyes. The trap needs bait, Commander Frost said. Something the Devourers want badly enough to expose themselves. All eyes turned to Jack. My mind, he said. They reacted to something in human consciousness. Something they fear. The alien representatives conferred among themselves. Hope, Jack translated their conclusion. Humans hope even when it's illogical. We fight when we should surrender. We sacrifice for others with no guarantee of reward. That's our weapon? Frost asked skeptically. It's poison to them, Jack said. They abandoned such emotions when they transcended physical form. Alarms blared. On the main screen, Earth's outer defense satellites went dark one by one. "They're here," Kira whispered. The plan moved quickly. While Earth's remaining defenses engaged the smaller Devourer ships, Jack and a strike team boarded an alien vessel modified with the ancient technology. "The mothership is our target," Jack told the team as they approached. "Once inside, we need to reach their consciousness network." Kira grabbed his arm. "You never said what happens after we connect the trap." Jack avoided her eyes. "We win." Their ship slipped past the battle, using technology from one of the allied species to mask their approach. They docked with the massive Devourer mothership, a structure larger than Earth's moon. Inside, they fought through corridors filled with shifting darkness. The team planted devices at key points, following Jack's directions. "The network core is ahead," Jack said, his nose bleeding freely now. Each word in the alien language cost him more of himself. They reached a vast chamber filled with swirling energy, billions of captured consciousnesses forced to power the Devourer's existence. "Set the final device," Jack ordered. As the team worked, Jack studied the connection point, a pillar of pure darkness at the center of the chamber. "It's ready," Kira said. "Now we just need to activate it remotely and get out." Jack shook his head. "It won't work remotely. Someone has to physically connect to the network and release the trap from inside." Understanding dawned on Kira's face. "No, there has to be another way." "My mind is already changing," Jack said. "I'm the only one who can survive the initial connection." Before anyone could stop him, Jack stepped toward the pillar. "Jack, don't!" Kira screamed. He turned back one last time. "Get them home." Jack placed his hands on the pillar. Darkness enveloped him, pulling his consciousness into the vast network. His body remained standing, but his mind traveled through an endless sea of stolen thoughts. Billions of voices screamed in his head. The Devourers sensed him, converging on this new consciousness. As they began to consume him, Jack opened his mind, completely flooding the network with every human emotion he had ever felt. Love, hope, sacrifice, defiance, in the face of certain death. The last thing he heard was Kira's voice as the team retreated. "We woe and forget you." Then Jack Harmon disappeared into the consciousness network, his mind becoming a weapon against the very beings trying to devour it. Inside the consciousness network, Jack floated through endless darkness. His sense of self began to fragment as the Devourers tore at his mind. But instead of fighting, he opened himself completely. Memories flooded out his first love, the pain of failure, the joy of discovery, the hope that drove him even when everyone called him crazy. Each emotion spread like fire through the network. The Devourers had no defense against these feelings. They had abandoned such weaknesses eons ago when they shed their physical forms. Now these human emotions burned through their collective consciousness like acid. Jack pushed deeper, weaponizing every moment of his life. The network shuddered around him. "You cannot resist," a voice said from everywhere. "We have consumed billions." "Then you've made a mistake," Jack replied. "You've taken in too many minds that remember what you've forgotten." He reached out, finding the captured consciousnesses of countless beings. They responded to his call, awakening from their forced sleep. Jack united them with a single-purpose rebellion. On Earth, Kira watched the main screen in the command center as Devourer ships began shutting down one by one. "What's happening?" Commander Frost demanded. "Jack," she whispered. "He's doing it." The mothership trembled. Lights flickered across its massive surface before going dark. The smaller ships followed, drifting powerless in space. Inside the network, Jack found something unexpected: bright points of light, different from the others. He reached for them and made contact with the preserved consciousness of the dead language's creators. "You came," they communicated. "As we hoped someone would." "You knew this would happen?" Jack asked. "We saw many futures. In some, the Devourers consumed all life. In others, a species would arise with the strength to fight them. The ancient minds guided Jack to the final sequence of their language, the part no one had translated. With their help, he understood at last. You didn't die out, Jack realized. You transcended. We hid between dimensions, waiting. The Devourers could not follow us there. Jack felt his human self slipping away. His body was gone, his mind transforming into something new. I can't go back, he said. No, but you can go forward. On Earth, the Allied fleet surrounded the disabled Devourer ships. Celebration broke out as the threat ended. But in the command center, Kira stood silent before Jack's empty body, still connected to the pillar. Suddenly, every communication system activated at once. The dead language flowed through speakers and screens worldwide, but now everyone understood it perfectly. A translation, Dr. Vega said in awe. He's sending us the complete language. The final message appeared on the main screen. This is not the end. It's the first sentence of a new chapter. Kira touched the screen. Jack, 1 year later, humanity had joined the Alliance of Species. The Devourer ships had been dismantled, their captured consciousnesses freed. Earth scientists studied the ancient technology, preparing for the next step in human evolution. Kira stood alone in the original ruins on Proxima B, in the chamber where it all began. The communication device activated without her touching it. Hello, Kira, said a voice that was both Jack's and not Jack's. We miss you, she said. I'm still here. Just changed. The ancients needed a bridge between physical beings and those who transcended. That's what I've become. Will we see you again? The air shimmered, forming a translucent image of Jack, but with eyes that held the light of stars. I'm the translator now, he said. Between worlds, between states of being. And there's so much more to translate. He reached out, his hand stopping just short of touching hers. Humanity's ready for the next question, he said. And this time, everyone will understand the answer.